Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about something that many of us have probably had on the back of our minds for a while now. And when I say the back of our minds, I really do mean the back of our minds. It's just something that hasn't really been talked about necessarily, but something that we've always kind of assumed was on the way, but just never ended up happening. And that, of course, is the fact that the Nintendo Switch 2 has simply never received a price drop. In its entire 8 years on the market, the original Nintendo Switch, and I mean the original, not the Switch 2, now wouldn't that be crazy, right? If the Switch 2 ended up getting a price drop just a month after it launched. I mean, then again, Nintendo's not necessarily strangers to this idea. I mean, if you remember what happened with the 3DS, right? Like, just a few months after the 3DS came out, there was that massive price drop. So it's not like they're strangers to it, but no, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see that with the Switch 2, given the immense success that it's been having lately. So I think we're good on that front. But I'm talking about the original Nintendo Switch. Now, 8 years on the market, and still up until this point, we have not seen a single official price drop for this console. Not a single one from Nintendo themselves. You could say maybe certain retailers have dropped the price here and there, but Nintendo themselves have not issued an official price drop for this hardware. And you look at it and you think about it, and it's crazy. It's absolutely insane and basically unprecedented that we have a console now considered a last-gen console because the Switch 2 is now here, and it has not received a price drop. And many people, myself included, assumed, almost believed 100% that we were going to get a Switch 1 price drop before the Switch 2 comes out. And that did not happen. So, it's been 8 years since the Nintendo Switch came out. We still have no price drop. What's up with that? Well, in a way, in a weird way, we kind of did have a price drop, a quote-unquote price drop for the Switch. And that was, well, the Switch Lite, right? I mean, you know, this is the Switch Lite. Now, of course, I don't actually consider that an official price drop. It's a different SKU. It's not an actual real price drop. It's just a cheaper model of the Switch family of systems, right? It's just the cheapest model of that family. But again, in a way, Nintendo did kind of offer a more accessible entry-level option out there, right? So it's not like they didn't have any way of getting this console into the hands of people who simply couldn't afford the base model, right? It's like they did do that, but of course they stripped it down to just being a handheld only console. It didn't have the docked focus, but still, again, that's neither here nor there. I'm not really counting that. I just thought I'd bring it up because it is something to consider. They do have a cheaper version of the console, a much cheaper version of the console out there, but it also happens to be the least selling version of the console, right? Like, it's sold the least out of all of the Switch family models. So that's also kind of interesting, but I guess yeah, it's called a Switch for a reason, right? You're not going to buy a Switch to not have it switch between modes, right? So kind of makes sense in that regard. So again, going back to the title of this video, why on earth has the Switch 1 not received a price drop at this point? It's very simple. It's very obvious, right? I think we all know the answer to that. Sales. System has been selling tremendously well. Even 8 years into its life cycle, it's now at over 152 million units sold worldwide, which is just absolutely bonkers. So I don't blame Nintendo for this at all, really, because, well, if it's still selling, if it's still making you money, you know, why would you drop the price? But again, it's also one of those things where it's like, we've never really seen this for a video game console, at least not in recent memory, where 8 years into the lifespan, we still have not gotten anything official. And so when is it going to actually happen? When are we going to see an official price drop? Because again, I truly believed that it was going to happen before the Switch 2 came out. Like, at the very least, late last year or early this year. And it didn't happen. And of course, I'm not a mind reader. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly when it's actually going to have a price drop, but we can kind of conjure up our own theories here. The Switch 2 is now out, and odds are, to some extent at least, it is going to start eating away at the potential sales of the original Switch. There's no denying that really at this point. If there's, for the small group of people out there who wanted a Switch, can like now have access to a Switch 2, well, why not just get the Switch 2, right? Unless they simply can't afford the Switch 2 yet, then that's understandable. They still have the Switch option there. But there are people out there that will simply offer the Switch 2 instead, so we also have to take that into account, right? We also can't deny the fact that the console is starting to slow down in terms of sales, in terms of the pace of sales. It's now slowing down year after year, you know, like we've seen these graphs that people have created, that Nintendo themselves, I believe, also made, but we're starting to see kind of a downward trend. Basically since 2021 or so, we've started to see kind of a downward trend. It's a very slow downward trend, but nonetheless it's there. It is a downward trend. And by now, again, with the release of the Switch 2, I predict that trend will only accelerate at this point. So it's really hard to say just how much more Nintendo can push out of the Switch, at least in its current price range. Now imagine if they lowered the price by even 30-40%, that would once again increase the sales potential and maybe even help it overtake the PS2 as the best-selling console of all time. That's a completely different topic in and of itself. I could make a video on that entire thing, but the point is, the Switch 1 is on a downward trend. And so I genuinely predict that we may end up seeing a price drop even this year. Like by holiday of this year, we may finally get the Switch's first price drop. If not this year, then definitely sometime next year. And that's not me moving the goalpost. That's me being pretty realistic. I don't think Nintendo is gonna push this thing for year 9, year 10, and have it be the same price when the Switch 2 is starting to eat away at its potential sales. But there's also the argument of the fact that Nintendo may, in fact, want to squeeze every little bit out of this current price range, right? And I mean, doesn't any company want that? And the real question is, how long will the Switch keep going until the sales are so bad, not necessarily so bad, but you know what I mean, like not good anymore, that Nintendo would want to actually drop the price. And again, I think we may see that by the time this holiday rolls around. I think more people will opt for the Switch 2, and I think that will 100% affect the sales of the Switch 1. It's genuinely amazing how much life Nintendo's been able to squeeze out of this console, again for 8 years. But I think it's time for a price drop at this point, at least in the next year or so. I think it's the right time to do so, to keep that kind of sales momentum going, even for the Switch 1. Again, we're seeing this drop in sales year over year, and I think that's still going to continue, price drop or not. But at the very least, Nintendo can slow it down, or at least make it plateau a bit, and kind of keep sales as stable as possible. They still have this up their sleeves. Again, if anyone's worried about the Switch 1 not surpassing PS2 or whatever, Nintendo still has the price drop strategy up their sleeves. They still have not dropped the price, so like anything is possible at this point. But anyways, guys, that is going to be a wrap for this video. There's really a whole bunch of dates that I could throw out there, you know, a whole bunch of time periods that I could say, oh, it's going to come out here, it's going to come out there. But at the end of the day, I'm going to lean towards holiday of this year or early next year, early to middle of next year. So yeah, so that's going to be a wrap, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing, please consider liking, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.